What's up, gems? I'm Jamelia, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. To my returning subscribers, welcome back, my loves. As you can see from the title, I am back with part 2 of, I'm gonna read it, 20 craziest reactions of convicts after given a life sentence. Let's just get straight into the video. I'm gonna start the screen recording. Oh, these convicts, I don't get it. They're shocked. They genuinely be shook to the core. And we also may not be able to watch the rest of the video, like the full thing, but we'll watch most of it. Here we go. Did I see? Yes, I did.
Stone. Ryan Stone was sentenced to 160 years in prison for taking officers on a lengthy chase in 2014. He was convicted of several charges, such as attempted manslaughter, child abuse, and car theft during a 90-minute car chase. Ryan stole a car outside a gas station with a 4-year-old inside before crashing it into a van. He dragged the van driver out by her legs before stealing it and hitting a state trooper who was laying a tire deflating device, resulting in a broken leg. He struck several more cars before being arrested. In jail, Ryan was videoed bragging about mimicking a video game to a female visitor. He also talked about the potential to profit from the chase video and getting paid by YouTube. His boastful behavior was in direct contrast to how he looked and acted when he was being sentenced to his crimes in the first place.
Always is.
He blamed drugs, acted tearfully, and asked the judge to please give him a break. Ryan and his family said he struggled with drug addiction and that his meth use left him with very little memory of the chase. The goal was for the court to see him as troubled rather than violent, but the judge didn't give him a break, and a Douglas County jury convicted Ryan of 18 charges that would see him spend 160 years or the rest of his life in prison. Number 11. Jordan Fuss. Jordan Fuss was 19 years old when he reached speeds of over 90 miles an hour in his 2004 Infiniti G35 before crashing it into another vehicle carrying the Giraldo family. That accident resulted in the death of a 6-year-old boy after the Giraldo family's car was split in half. Jordan was found to have a blood alcohol content of 0.21, which is far more than the state legal limit of 0.08. While Jordan was being sentenced for his crimes, he was visibly shaking and crying. His attorney argued for a reduced sentence and said his client was remorseful and had considered suing.
And look, he may be remorseful, he may even be considering suicide, but you can't bring any of these victims back. Darling. You can't bring them back. Your remorse can't bring them back. Your tears can't bring them back. Like, ooh.
He also told the Giraldo family that he was sorry and that he wished it was him that died, not their son.
So sorry.
Oh,
Jordan did appear genuinely remorseful throughout and even said he would give his life if it meant bringing his back. However, Jordan also admitted to smoking marijuana and using alcohol since the crash. He was subsequently sentenced to 14 years in prison, with prosecutors seeking the maximum sentence of 15 years. When he was being fingerprinted after the sentencing, he tearfully said, "I love you so much," to his mother, father, brother, and the girlfriend he met online after the crash. Number 10. Eric Pendland. Child abuse is a horrific crime, and that's certainly one word of many to describe the actions of Eric Pendland.
Horrific?
When Eric's son was 3 months old, he was shaken so violently that he became permanently disabled. He suffered a broken neck, traumatic brain damage, hearing impairment, and almost complete blindness. He was also unable to hold his own head up. According to Sharon Lawson and her husband, who were fostering Eric, eventually adopted him, and had been involved in the care of disabled and abused children for many years, the baby would always rely on people to bathe, dress, change, and feed him, along with administering pain medication. Maximum charges were sought because Eric had a prior record of robbery and a federal firearms charge. Prosecutors got their wish, and Eric was handed the maximum sentence for his crimes, even though he said he was innocent. As he was let out of the courtroom after being sentenced to 11 years, he shook his head and had an outburst that involved swearing at the judge and saying he hadn't done anything wrong. Number 9. Antonio Barbeau. Antonio Barbeau, 14 years old, and his friend Nathan Papp visited the home of Antonio's 78-year-old great-grandmother in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and she invited them inside. Once she had her back turned to call Antonio's mother, Antonio hit her on the head with a hatchet. Antonio then said he ran to the bathroom as he was feeling sick, but saw his friend hitting her multiple times with a hammer. His grandmother died from her injuries. He would spend at least 36 years behind bars for his crimes and would be eligible for parole by around 50 years old. During the trial, Antonio showed a wide range of emotions. He would wipe away tears at times, and he even smirked and shook his head when the prosecutor spoke.
Your grandma, sister, friend, when I had no right to do so.
He pleaded no contest and was convicted of killing his great-grandmother. He broke down and sobbed when he was sentenced and tried to read an apologetic statement. However, he started crying while reading it, and his defense attorney had to read it. He too was on the brink of tears as he read it. The judge said that the sentence was the minimum based on the crime and that the crime was nothing short of horrific. According to the judge, he had not seen anything of this nature, not even close, in his 24 years on the bench. Number 8. Jeffrey McDonald. Jeffrey McDonald beat his girlfriend Alyssa Johnson to death in their home in Dongan Hills. He then propped her against a bed with severe blunt impact injuries to the head, neck, and extremities before taking a photo of her in this position.
Oh, I needed that
Attention.
commercial break.
Stop delivering other people's food to make extra cash when you can get paid to watch
It's a
viral
bit
videos
much.
instead. Find and post a screen.
Likely after she was already dead. For his horrific crimes, and even after crying and apologizing to Alyssa's family, he was sentenced to 12 years in jail. While his crying in court may have looked convincing to some, it wasn't to the judge. Judge Mario F. Matei said he wasn't impressed by Jeffrey's expression of sorrow and said he didn't need any crocodile tears in front of him. He also said that Jeffrey was a coward for beating up a 107-pound defenseless woman. Your lack of compassion is palpable. You don't have an ounce of decency in your body, he said. Jeffrey said he was sorry for the pain he had caused and said Alyssa was the love of his life. As he was led to a holding cell through a side door, a woman said, "Hold your head, bro," while another said, "You're a demon."
Oh.
Number 7. Manson Bryant. Manson Bryant from Lake County was no stranger to the court system or prison. He had appeared before Judge Eugene Lucci's bench at least 3 or 4 times and has a criminal history dating back to 1999 as a juvenile. The last time this judge sentenced him to a crime was for 4 years, but this time he was in court for a violent home invasion and robbery while he was on parole.
Why'd y'all keep releasing this man? Clearly he wasn't learning no lessons. Not one. Why y'all kept letting him go? Ooh.
The maximum prison sentence for his crime was 30 years, but the judge sentenced him to 22 years after he felt Manson showed some remorse. Although he quickly realized that the remorse he supposedly showed might have been an act. Judge Lucci said the last time he sentenced Manson, he acted out briefly, but not like this. He went on a tirade swearing at the judge until Judge Lucci had enough. He added 6 years onto his sentence, bringing the total to 28 years. Manson was then forcibly removed from the courtroom by Lake County Sheriff's Office deputies.
22 years?
His attorney, Daniel Williams, said sentencing hearings could be emotional and Manson had an emotional and regrettable reaction. He said that Manson was otherwise composed throughout the entire trial, even as the verdict was rendered. They intended to appeal the ruling and sentence. Number 6. Tony Farmer. Some people get angry when they're sentenced to prison. Others cry, scream, and swear. Ohio high school basketball star 18-year-old Tony Farmer collapsed. He melted onto the floor and, once standing upright with the help of a sheriff's deputy, continued to look in absolute disbelief as he was sentenced to 3 years in prison in 2012.
Years on their income as well.
Tony Farmer, who's 6 feet 7 inches tall and ranks among the top high school basketball players in the country, had a bright future ahead of him after being recruited by several major colleges. However, he stood before the court accused of kidnapping, assaulting, and threatening his ex-girlfriend, Andrea Lane. He pleaded guilty to all charges and was released in 2015. Following his release, Tony wanted to enroll in Lincoln College but was refused admission, so he signed on to play basketball with Lee College, a Baytown, Texas community college. After his sophomore year, he became a professional basketball player and put his name in for the 2017 NBA draft, where U.S. college basketball players were selected for NBA teams. He was ultimately not successful. In 2020, police in Louisiana issued a warrant for Tony's arrest on felony domestic abuse battery.
So you ain't learning a thing, Tony?
Erica Mae Butts and Shanita Latrice Cunningham. Somerville, South Carolina couple Erica Butts and Shanita Cunningham received sentences of life in prison for killing a 3-year-old girl, Serenity Richardson. Serenity had been visiting Erica and Shanita, who were her godmother and mother's best friend, at their home in Somerville. This was where the abuse took place. Both Erica and Shanita beat her with plastic coat hangers and a belt. The only part of her body that wasn't harmed were the soles of her feet. When the two women learned they would be spending the rest of their lives in jail, they both collapsed, wailed, and hyperventilated in the courtroom. The entire scene was incredibly dramatic. Court officials had to pick both women up off the floor, and they were held in chairs before being wheeled out of the room. A clerk was heard asking if any EMT...
And I'm gonna ask this again, but what about when baby girl was crying? Were you being remorseful? Did you have this energy? You most likely had every opportunity, not just to stop, but to not do it in the first place. And you did anyway.
Were present in the building, while others tried to get Erica to slow down her breathing. Erica's mother also had to be thrown out of the courtroom by 3 staff members when she began shouting at her daughter to get up and started screaming that she couldn't leave her baby like this. The mother's cries rang out across the courtroom, trumping the reactions of even the 2 women being sentenced. Number 4. Adrian Dunn. Ex-con Adrian Dunn was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of 24-year-old Raken Tariq Charles. Raken was shot in the back in an apartment complex parking lot during a supposed drug deal. During the closing arguments, prosecutors referred to Adrian's already extensive criminal record. They said he's been to prison twice for possessing a firearm even after the murder of Raken. He had also committed another shooting before the murder and has shown zero remorse. While prosecutor Jason Goss held the hand of Raken's mother, he asked the jury for a life sentence for Adrian's crimes. He said the Charles family had to suffer because of the defendant, but Adrian's lawyer said 34 to 40 years would be more appropriate so that he had a chance of getting out and being an asset to the community. Even if the jury had taken that statement on board.
Hey ladies, we are giving out free Dove samples. Just fill out our quick 2-minute survey.
It didn't make any difference, as he was sentenced to life after deliberating for 2 hours. When the sentence was handed down, Adrian had an outburst and wrestled with deputies as they tried to escort him from the courtroom. Number 3.
Not him having that
Michael
energy.
Madison. Michael Madison had an abusive and chaotic childhood, but that wasn't enough to convince the jury not to sentence him to death for multiple counts of aggravated murder and kidnapping. Michael killed 3 people and wrapped their bodies in garbage bags. One of those victims was Sherelda Terry, whose father was giving a victim impact statement in the courtroom. When her father walked to the front of the courtroom to give his statement, he turned towards Michael, who was just a few feet away, and Michael smiled at him maliciously. That was enough for Sherelda's father to run at Michael, throw himself across the desk, and try to get at him. Sheriff's deputies swarmed at him while a woman could be heard screaming, "No, no, no!" in the background. A 15-minute delay followed, but the hearing continued. Michael received the death sentence, and the judge...
I'm looking up at the time. Ooh, we are running out of time. Thank you guys so much for watching and just chilling, kicking it with me. spending time with me, vibing out. If you've made it this far, I do appreciate you more than words can explain. I hope you're having an amazing, beautiful, awesome, productive, lovely, dope day. And you know, I already look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Bye, you guys. I'll see you soon.